Hi Year 5, welcome to this week's geography lesson. Today we're going to be looking at the Mayan water systems. Okay, so we want to quickly pause the video and write today's date and title into your topic books. That will be amazing. And then welcome back. So let's get started. Let's start with some total recall. So I've got two from last week's lesson, and then one from 2 weeks ago, but we had it as recall last week as well, so see if you can remember again. So first of all, what are the three geographical regions of the Maya? So I think last week we talked about the physical geography. What were the three areas called that region of Mesoamerica was broken up into? Can you remember? So we had the northern lowlands, the southern lowlands, and the highlands. So well done if you got those. What are the climates like in each of these areas? So try and visualise that map. Think of the northern lowlands right up in that Yucatan Peninsula, the southern lowlands more central, and then the highlands were on the other coast with all the mountains. So what were the climates like? So in the northern lowlands, it's really hot, it's really dry, and there's not very much rainfall at all. In the southern lowlands, it's very humid and has annual rainfall. This is like your rainforest area. And in the highlands, obviously it's a higher altitude because it's mountains, so it's a cooler climate. And finally, what are the 5 countries where the Maya were located in that Mesoamerica area? So we've got Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, and Honduras. So well done if you've managed to remember those. Right, let's move on. So today, there aren't any WILFs, but there is a challenge on top if you want to add more to your work. You are going to be creating a fact file on the different water systems that the Maya used. So you are going to complete a full A4 page in your books. Okay, that is the expectation today, a full A4 page with diagrams and information. And you're going to have to explain why the Maya needed water systems and give detail into the different water systems that they had and that we're going to be looking at in a moment. The challenge on top of that, we're also going to be looking at the water systems in specific Maya cities. Okay, so your challenge on top of that is to talk about those specific water systems as well. You may, if you do the challenge, you may have to go on to 2 pages. That's absolutely fine. But your minimum expectation today is to produce a full page, colourful, really good information, and imagine you're giving it to someone to teach them about the Maya water systems. Okay, so for you to be able to do that today, you're going to have to use your listening skills really well, so make sure you follow the whole video and be really absorbed with what we're talking about. So first of all, I just want to start with a wonder wall again. So I've got one picture this week, and I want you to just write a quick "I think I see, I wonder" into your books. Now you may be able to make some links with things that have already been mentioned in Mr. Walker's history lessons. So just pause the video, write an "I think" and "I see" and "I wonder" into your book. Okay, we will be talking about what this is in a moment, so hold your horses and see if your thoughts were similar to what it actually is. Okay, so I want you to quickly think about why water is important to us. What do we need water for? So hopefully you're thinking, well, we need it to drink, we need it to wash, we need it to feed animals, we need it to grow crops, okay, plants, flowers, food, grass. Okay, so we need it for a lot of things. Every human being needs water to survive, and without water, people cannot live. The Maya needed water to drink and water for their crops, and without this precious resource, their civilization could not have existed. So just like we really need water to live today, the Maya couldn't live without it either. So, as as we've talked about, specifically up in this northern lowlands area, okay, right up in that Yucatan Peninsula, and you can see on this map how green and how dry it was, there were very few lakes and streams from which to take water. And this was due to the fact that the underlying rock that the land was made of was porous limestone. And limestone is a type of rock that isn't compact. It's got a lot of holes in it, which is the meaning behind porous. Okay? It's got minuscule gaps. And that meant that any water, because obviously we learnt that this area was very dry, very hot, there was little rainfall. But any rainfall that they did get, okay, this limestone rock would just suck it right in. Okay, it would absorb straight away, and that's why there was no rivers, no lakes, no streams on the surface of the land. Rainfall was seasonal in this area. Okay, so we also learnt that the southern lowlands in the rainforest area, they had rain within specific months of the year. And with torrential downpours during the wet seasons, followed by a really long dry season. So here's a zoomed in picture of limestone. You can see that porous means it absorbs really quickly, and you can see those holes in the rock that would allow the water to just flow straight through it. So because the rock in this area was so porous, this meant that any rain that did fall would be absorbed very quickly and seep through the rock, therefore not leaving any surface water. With a lack of standing water at ground level, the Maya had to develop clever ways of collecting water in other ways and from other places, but the water was too low to excavate without modern day equipment. So excavate means to like dig up. So without equipment like we have today, like diggers and things, it was very hard for them to get that deep underground to reach the water that they really needed. And obviously with this limestone, it meant that rivers and lakes couldn't form because the water would just seep straight through. So they didn't have those things available to them. You can see in this bottom picture, it shows a representation of the Maya land on the top, and you can see how there is no water on the top of that land. It is all seeped through, absorbed through the limestone, and held underground. But we're going to look at how they solved their problems to get the water. So, a lot of the Maya's fresh water came from underground caves called cenotes. There are many cenotes on the Yucatan Peninsula, so that top, that little part of Mexico that I was showing you on the map. And people still use them for drinking water today, so those cenotes can still be found in Mexico today. And here's some pictures of some of them. So what a cenote is where that limestone rock has gotten so wet and absorbed so much water, it's actually caved in. So the ground has caved in and basically opened up a natural well, so that the Maya were able to locate the water that was underground. So natural wells these cenotes were. They look very pretty as well. So Maya cities, including the famous Chichen Itza, were built around these natural wells. Modern day cave divers have explored the cave systems and discovered that they often stretch for many miles underground. For the religious Maya, these caves were also believed to be entrances to the underworld. And it's also been found out that these cenotes actually have the water has a tide, and they found out that the water, they are basically rivers underground, because if you follow them through, they finally reach the sea. So rather than having these rivers on above ground like we do, because they've seeped through and absorbed through the limestone, it's actually created a river underground, and it does reach the sea eventually. So where there were no underground cave systems, so parts of Mesoamerica where there were no cenotes, that these natural wells didn't occur, the Maya had to create their own way of getting the water. And they made huge storage tanks under the ground that collected rainwater. sometimes from their houses, drainage pipes, but they probably wouldn't really have had that. That's more of today. But the rainwater, if you look at this picture here, it was just a hole in the ground, and the rainwater would just go into that, and under the ground it was like a big bottle shape, and it would just collect all the water for when they needed it. So some of these man-made wells were called chaltons, and some of them held enough water to keep 25 people supplied with water for a year. So that's a lot of water to supply 25 people for a year. Archaeologists have discovered enough chaltons in some Maya settlements to supply as many as 8,000 people. And we have very similar things today. You may or may not have a water bottle or a water barrel in your back garden, and these are placed near drainage pipes or under roofs or guttering to collect all the rainwater, so that then you can use that water in your garden and grow your own vegetables or your own plants and things like that. Tikal is one of the Maya cities that was situated in the northern part of Guatemala, if you look at this map. And it was one of the cities with the most advanced water management strategies. They made buildings, paved roads and plazas, all connected to canals that would direct as much rainwater as possible to man-made reservoirs. So they created roads and canals, so when that rain did fall, it would all flow to a reservoir. These reservoirs conserved water for the dry seasons. Tikal also had a huge dam, which is the largest known hydraulic project built by the Maya. So, I wonder if you know what a reservoir is. So a reservoir is an artificial lake, basically, if that's a way to describe it, and it basically stores rainwater to later be used as supply for you to use it. So I've got a couple of pictures here. So this is actually a reservoir and a dam together. So as you can see, it looks like a lake. I don't know if anyone's been up to Dartmouth or Burrator Reservoir. You may have been up there for walks or cycling. It looks like a lake, but it's been made so that it collects water. And this part is a dam. So with a dam you can close the doors. So at the moment in this photo the doors are open because you can see all the water coming out. But to start with, those doors will be closed so that the reservoir can fill up with rainwater over time. And then when it's full, the dam doors open and the water flows through and then flows to somewhere else so that the water can be used as supply for people. And we still have a lot of reservoirs today. This map down here shows the reservoirs in Tikal that the Maya used. So they had the temple reservoir at the top. They had a dam here, so when that was full, they would let the water through down to this reservoir. Then there was another dam once that reservoir was full, and then the water went down to the hidden reservoir, and that's where the Maya would then be able to collect their water from. They're very clever coming up with these systems to collect the water. And another place well known for its water systems was Palenque. So another Maya city with intricate water management systems was Palenque in the southern Mexican area. So here is Palenque. It was unique in the Maya world because natural springs made water easily available, and instead the city had to be protected from flooding. Here the Maya built underground aqueducts that would direct water from natural springs to where it was wanted. At Palenque, there is even evidence that the Maya were able to work with water pressure to create fountains, or possibly even to flush toilets. Now, an aqueduct. We have aqueducts today. They can be canals, they can be on bridges as well. So, you may have seen, if I go to the next page, there we go, you may have seen an aqueduct like this. So, it's an arched bridge, which most of the time you normally see a train track going across, a railway track. But in some cases you have, it's an aqueduct and it's got water going across it, so boats can go across it as well. And it just takes water from a source to a distribution point, to where that water is needed. And the Maya in Palenque did this same sort of idea but underground. So they build these canals underground, similar to this picture, and it would just let the water flow from the source of it, so those natural springs or maybe even from rainfall, and it would make it flow to a certain distribution point where they would be able to collect that water and then use it for any means that they needed to. So, your task today, as mentioned at the beginning, is going to be to create a fact file on the different water systems that we've just learnt about. So you need to complete a full A4 page minimum. Obviously if you try the challenge you might need some more room. First of all, you need to explain why the Maya needed water systems, and then talk about the different water systems that we've looked at. So talk about cenotes, what they do, where they can be found, what they are. Talk about choltons, what they are, what do they look like, where can they be found, how are they used. Okay, draw some diagrams to show those different systems, and then for that extra challenge on top, add some information about the specific water systems used in Maya cities. So for example, in Tikal, in Palenque, in Chichen Itza. Okay, talk about the aqueducts underground and everything like that. So I've done a bit of a waggle. Let's just make that smaller. So this is just the main task without the challenge, an example of that. Obviously my pictures are internet pictures, which you can absolutely do. If you want to print pictures off and stick them in your book, you can do that. Otherwise you can draw your own versions. So I've done a nice big title, and then I've done a subheading. Why did the Maya need water systems? The Maya needed water to survive. Without water their civilizations could not have existed. In the Maya cities, the underground was made of porous limestone, so any rainfall would be absorbed deep underground, leaving no rivers or lakes. Without any surface water, the Maya had to develop ways of collecting it. Okay, so just a nice paragraph explaining the ground that they had and why they needed water so much. And here I've included the image of that rainwater being absorbed straight up with the porous limestone and sitting underground. Then I've done a brief paragraph about cenotes. So sometimes limestone would collapse and reveal the underwater cave called cenotes. So think they're a natural well, or it's been formed by a sinkhole basically. Some cities were built around these natural wells so they could collect water easily. These cenotes have been found to act like rivers and connect to the sea, because of that tide that we talked about. And then including a picture of a cenote there. And then obviously the choltons, which are man-made wells compared to the cenotes, which are natural. When there were no natural underground cave systems to collect water, the Maya created underground storage tanks called choltons. These could often hold enough water to keep 25 people supplied with water for a year. Okay, and then I've included what it looks like above the ground, just as a whole, and then how it's that bottle shape under the ground and stores all that water like a water butt. Okay, obviously then if you want to push yourself more, which we'd love to see, add some information about Palenque and Tikal and how they use the aqueducts and so on. Okay, remember to snap a picture of your work as soon as you've finished, send it through to your teacher so you can grab another point towards your next badge. But remember, try and fill an A4 page today minimum with some beautiful pictures and some beautiful information. Speak to you soon, guys. Bye!